Does exercise feel too stressful for your body? On this week's episode of the Exercise is Health podcast, we're going to lay out exactly what you need to do if that's the case for you. We're going to keep our introduction and dive right into this conversation. Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the Exercise is Health podcast, brought to you by Muscle Activation Schoenberg. We're your hosts, Charlie
and Julie.
And today we are discussing what do you do if exercise feels too stressful for your body? If you want to work out, but every time you do, it just feels like too much for your body. What do you do? There are some simple steps that you can take to help combat this and troubleshoot this. And that's exactly what we want to talk with you about today. But we want to let you know that if what we are discussing is of interest to you in terms of taking action on it, and you would like our guidance on doing that, that's exactly what we can help you do at our studio, Muscle Activation Schoenberg, using muscle activation techniques. All you have to do to see our availability and get on our schedule for muscle activation techniques is go to www.matschoenberg.com. On our website, you'll find a big green button that says Get Started, which you can click, and you can schedule yourself for your initial MAT consultation and assessment. All right, Julie, how often have you spoken with somebody where it's like, I know that I should be working out, and I'm actually interested in working out, but it's just too much for me. Like, this hurts and that hurts, and I just feel too wiped after. Like, is that a common conversation you've had in the past?
All the time. How about you?
Yeah, definitely. It seems like more and more as the years go by for people, and they have gone longer without working out, that is often the conversation that we end up having together, because in their mind, working out is one particular thing. And when they try to go back to doing that one particular thing, they realize that the body is not ready for that one particular thing. And then they kind of feel stuck or at a loss of what to do, because for their whole life, working out has looked like this. And they don't really know where to go from there. So if you found that to be the case for yourself, where you're like, hey, yeah, I used to work out all the time. I used to, run, or I used to do classes, or whatever it is. And, I took some time off for whatever reason, trying to get back into it. And the thing that you're trying to get back into, your body's like, no, we're not doing this right now. And you're like, oh, does this mean that I'm not supposed to be working out anymore? We're here to tell you that you are still supposed to be working out, that you need to make sure that you are exercising consistently. But there are some things that we need to change, both in your mind and within your body, in order to prepare you to exercise consistently. And so that's what we want to discuss with you today.
Shirley, you're totally right, because there is one thing that you can do with your body to make sure that it's physically robust and strong and can do the things that you want to do in your life as the years go by, and that is to regularly exercise. And the one thing that can make sure that you're going to lose those abilities is when you keep skipping out on your exercise. So if you're listening to this, you're in a really good place, because you have the interest. Like, you're like, hey, I kind of want to be exercising. And the problem in the equation, like what Charlie's explaining, it's not the exercise, it's you. You're the problem, which is a good thing, because you can change you, and we're going to tell you how to change you today. Because a lot of us have this idea of what an exercise bout should be, what my workout should be. And it might be from past experiences. A lot of it is from past experiences. Maybe like, I need to have this certain amount of sweat, or this certain amount of heart rate, or it needs to look like the workouts that I did at, this specific studio, or when I was training and in the best shape of my life when I was in high school football. It needs to look like that. Or whatever that picture is in your head, that is what's making exercise feel like you can't do it. Because you're trying to fulfill that expectation, and then you try and go do it, and something isn't going well, and then you can't do it. And then it's like, well, the exercise is just not working for my body. But if you change you don't have to change. Exercise is going to be there. It's just there, whether we engage with it or not. If you change your mindset and the way you're approaching it, that's what's going to change the entire equation with you plus exercise equaling an amazing, strong life.
Exactly. Now, if you are listening to this and you're like, yeah, but that's actually not my issue, there's actually a very simple way to figure out whether or not this is your issue. And the question to figure out whether or not this is your issue is, are there certain things that to you don't qualify as exercise? Are there certain activities or things that you do throughout your day That if somebody was like, oh yeah, you're exercising, you're getting your workout in your mind you'd be like, oh, this isn't exercise, or that's not working out. Are there things that you disqualify, whether like intentionally disqualify, or if somebody brought it up to you, be like, no, that's not working out? Because if you have that going on in your mind, and most people do, then this does apply to you. Because that's a huge reason as to why exercise feels too stressful for your body, is because the way you are qualifying exercise is at this moment inappropriate for your body. So what we need to do is we first and foremost need to shift your perspective on what exercise actually is and what should and should not qualify as exercise. But if there's anything that right now you're like, oh no, that doesn't qualify, yeah, okay, walking around the grocery store, yeah, I can do that. But if I tried to jog, so I can't jog, so I can't work out. It's like, okay, but you walked around the grocery store. Is that not exercise? Oh no, that doesn't count. That's called grocery shopping. It's like, okay, well, wait a second now. We need to explore these beliefs a little bit more. And once we can actually like unveil what exercise really is, then there's a whole world of possibilities that can open up in terms of what you right now are physically able to do and not have it be too stressful for your body. And that is the place that we need to start.
Charlie, you described some really great stuff right there, and I want to review it so that you listeners don't miss this. So if you think about the stuff you do in your day, let's call it all exercise. All of it. Everything you did. You walked to your mailbox, you carried groceries, maybe you grocery shopped, you walked in your office, you did the stairs. All of those things we're calling exercise. And if it's not making you feel terrible in the evening, that means that it's exercise that your body can tolerate. So let's describe that as like your daily living. And then in your head, you have this idea that, well, if I was going to go work out, it's going to look like XYZ. Let's just say it's going to look like the CrossFit stuff you used to do 30 years ago. I don't know, whatever is in your head. That's the tennis training you used to do when you were in college. That is the picture that you have of a workout. Do you see how those two things, your daily living and the idea you have in your head about what a workout is, are two very different things? Not only are they different motions, they're different intensities, they're different, like how aggressive they are, there are different endurance capabilities, and all of those are very, very true. So if you're saying, hey, my daily life is what it is, and I can't exercise because my qualifications of exercise are this really high thing, well then yeah, you're probably never going to jump back into exercise because the gap is so large, right? The gap is so large. But if we took your daily living things and you said, hey, all of those are exercises that I can handle, then the next question is, how do I just do the next step? How do I just do the next progressed step? Or we like to say micro progressed step, right? So I had a really good example this week with one of my clients. We are trying to get her to jump back into exercise, and I was asking her about some upper body exercise, and we were trying to figure out what was going to make things feel really good on her body. And so I said, hey, can we try like a farmer carry where you just hold some weights and walk? And as she's walking, she's like, well, you know what? I actually carry 1 gallon water jugs in my hands all the time. And I was like, that's great information to know, because you can do that and not flare things up. So me giving you 5-pound dumbbells in the gym, it's not even really a challenge for you relative to what you have in your regular life. So what I was doing there was we were kind of, well, together, we were figuring out what things is she accustomed to in her life that would allow her to take a micro progress step up. So we were able to figure out, hey, to make this workout challenging so that you can start adapting in a way that's not going to break you down, let's do the next step up of whatever our best guesstimate is of those 1 gallon water jugs that you carry. And so first day she thought, I can't do any upper body exercises. Next day we're carrying, a little bit more than her gallon jugs. That's amazing progress. So use your daily life activities, your daily life exercises as a good way to be like, oh my gosh, these are exercises I can handle. Now when I'm at the gym and when I'm intentionally trying to improve my health and strength, I'm going to use those as my foundation and then build.
Exactly, because this is going to do 2 really important things. 1, like you're saying, Julie, it's going to give you a baseline of where to start. 2, it's going to allow you to start stacking wins in the exercise column. You say, oh, I do my stairs. I go up and down them 25 times a day. That's 25 flights of stairs I do every day. Wow, I can check that off. Yeah, it's not 25 consecutive. Like I do some other stuff in between, but it's 25 flights of stairs. Okay, awesome, great. I can check that off. That's a win. Okay. Oh, I walk 30 minutes all around my yard. Picking up stuff and doing stuff around. Oh, that's 30 minutes of walking and bending over and this and that. That's a win. All right. So you are not only setting a baseline of what your body can do today, you are also stacking the wins, which is so important when it comes to exercise consistency, making sure you're able to stick with it long term. Because here's the thing is this concept makes a lot of sense when we're talking like strictly like lifting weights and numbers in the weight room. If you're saying, okay, well, you know what, a shoulder press doesn't count, unless I can do 50 pounds. And, I can't do 50-pound dumbbells right now. So, I can only do 45s. But so that doesn't count as a shoulder press. It's like, wait a second, like that doesn't make any sense. So we can see that it's like, all right, well, if we can't do, what we are used to, it doesn't mean that it doesn't count. It still counts. It's just what we're able to do right now. But the conversation and the comparisons start to get a little bit more fuzzy when we start talking about other stuff that isn't as clear cut as like, weights and numbers and stuff like that, where it's like, oh, well, if I go walking on the treadmill for 30 minutes, that's going to feel a little bit weird on my feet and knees and back. But, if I'm, standing on my feet, walking around my kitchen, picking stuff, cleaning up, getting stuff ready, whatever it is, like, okay, yeah, but you still walked for 30 minutes on your feet. You were just in your kitchen instead of on the treadmill. How are we not calling that exercise? How are we not seeing that like that is something that you are right now physically able to do? And so you are setting that baseline for yourself. All right, cool. Now this is where I am. This is what I can do. And we need to remove ourselves from the idea that there are strict qualifications that need to be met in order for something to count as exercise. There's a right way that we need to do things in order for things to count as exercise. Like there's no right way. There's only what's right for your body. And once we establish that baseline for your body, then we can actually meet your body where it's at. And then like Julie was saying, we can start to micro progress your body from there.
That's right. I think one of the biggest limiting factors in us being able to regularly exercise is our expectation like that of like, well, if I'm going to be doing a push-up, I got to make sure my chest gets all the way down to the floor or else it's just not, why even do them, right? It's like, well, the top half of the push-up really will help you too. It's a really good stepping stone of progressing your strength. And I don't even want to say progressing towards a full push-up because people can be healthy and be able to do full push-ups and people can be healthy and strong and not be able to do full push-ups. I was training, this example for some reason is coming to mind from a woman that I worked with a few years ago. And she had read this article that all women should always be weight bearing. And so she always wanted to do every exercise standing because she felt that standing was more weight bearing than sitting. And so when we got to doing shoulder presses, I had already known about some shoulder things she had going on. So I was like, okay, I want you to sit down. We're going to lean back like 5 degrees and you're going to press up, which is generally a more comfortable position for shoulders. She's like, well, I really want to do this standing because, it's like weight bearing. I want to do the weight bearing and that's a better exercise, And so we stood up and it didn't feel so good on her shoulders, which I had kind of expected. But I had to talk through and say, hey, the goal of this exercise is not to check every single box. The goal of this exercise is, hey, let's just strengthen the shoulders and not flare them up and not flare up your low back while we're doing it. Let's just figure out what's going to work for your body, not necessarily match this article that you had read in a women's health magazine or whatever it was. It's more about figuring out what's going to work for your body and what's that little piece that's working for your body and not discounting all the things that you've done in between by calling it, I don't know, modified or version B or whatever. It's your version that's helping you progress and strengthen your body right now.
Exactly. So how do we go about doing this? How do we go about taking your body from where it's at and then progressing it, along a path to getting you to the place where you can do what you want to do, you can work out the way you want to work out at the intensity, doing the activities that you want to do without it feeling too stressful for your body, without it feeling like it's taking too great of a toll for your body. First things first, we need to figure out what's holding you back. What is physically not operating the way it's supposed to be operating within your body that is not allowing you to work out the way you want to work out. So sometimes it's your physical conditioning, like you've just been away for too long. Sometimes it's your physical strength. You just haven't prioritized that enough. But more times than not, what we see is there's actual dysfunction within your neuromuscular system where you have muscles that aren't contracting well enough. And because of that, other muscles are having to overwork and compensate for those underactive muscles. This can lead to muscles feeling particularly tight, like all the time, or while you're doing specific exercises. It can lead to joints feeling flared up. It can lead to activities feeling way harder than you remember them feeling, because it's like your body's not operating with all the horsepower that it once did, okay? And so the way we go about figuring out where within your body this is going on, and as well as troubleshooting it and addressing it, is using muscle activation techniques. The MAT process is designed to figure out where within your body you have muscles that aren't working well, that are inhibited, that aren't contracting well, and causing other muscles to have to compensate and overwork. And those muscles that are overworking, those are the ones that are liable to get injured. Those are the ones that are liable to tighten up. Those are the ones that are liable to feel flared up, or, around the joints that they're crossing, in the areas of the body where it feels like really stressful, okay? And so with MAT, we're able to take those muscles that are not working well enough, like I said, first and foremost, identify them, and then actually improve the way they're functioning, improve the way that they're working, improve how well they are contracting. And then once you get to a place where you have muscles that are now contracting much better, now you have a more operational body. You have a more functional body to then go and do more traditional exercise with, because the underactive inhibited muscles, those have been taken care of with the MAT process.
That's right. And once all your muscles or more of your muscles are turned on and you're moving and functioning better, the second requirement is that you do have to consistently challenge your body. Sometimes when we bring up this conversation of like, what do you do if exercise feels too stressful for your body? Then people are like, oh, well, just walk. We should just walk, right? But the problem with just walking, or whatever you fill in the blank where, oh, just do yoga, or just do, my silver sneakers, or whatever it is that if that activity that you're doing is not regularly challenging all the motions of your body, all the motions of the shoulder, all the motions of the elbow, all the motions of the core, you get what I'm saying here? Those areas are not going to progress. In fact, they are going to regress, because after we reach, I don't know, 35 or whatever, our bodies don't naturally progress anymore. Meaning, like, our bodies are not naturally getting stronger. Our bodies are not naturally building more bone density. So we really have to work at these, and we have to be really thorough in how we're working them. And so the second piece, after we get all the muscles working better and things are functioning better, is that you are consistently challenging your body. You're making these things difficult. It doesn't mean that you're blowing past your limits, but you're regularly kind of microdosing that challenge and progressing where you are. And so that your body is always getting that stimulus and being put in that environment that's saying, hey, you got to keep that muscle. Hey, you got to keep that motion. Hey, you got to make sure you can still get your arm and brush your hair back there. Hey, you got to make sure you still can do those bending motions to get your shoes on. It's like a regular check-in to make sure that these motions and areas are not regressing, that they are either staying as steady as possible, they're progressing, and making sure that you're keeping all that muscle and strength that you can.
Yeah, this is a really huge piece of the puzzle, because your body only adapts to the stimuli that's being presented to it. And so if the stimuli that's being presented to it is, you don't need to be as strong as you currently are. You don't need to be as physically fit as you currently are, because there's nothing demanding that you are doing with your body to, require the strength, to require the physical fitness. Your body's going to be like, well, it's a lot easier to get rid of this muscle, get rid of this strength, to, lose this physical conditioning, because my environment is not asking that of me. But when you start to change the input to your body, and the environment that you're in, a few times a week is saying, oh, no, actually, we need you to be a little bit stronger. Oh, we need you to be more physically fit. Guess what? Your body starts to adapt to that. But if you just stay at that level of demand, You only progress up to that level of demand. So you have to be willing to challenge yourself a little bit more than that. And then you're going to adapt to that. And then you challenge yourself a little bit more to that. And over the course of 6 months, 12 months, half a decade, you look back and you're like, wow, I've actually made really, really good progress. Or maybe you're at a time in life where you're like, wow, over the last 5 to 10 years, I actually haven't lost anything. And that's a tremendous form of progress for most people of where they are on their continuum of their lifespan, okay? And so understand that, like, yes, we definitely need to make sure that you are starting with what you can do from, you know, a workout exercise perspective, that wherever you are currently at, that you're meeting your body there. We definitely need to make sure that we are figuring out, like, what is physically holding you back from a neuromuscular perspective using the MAT process and getting those muscles working better. And then we also need to definitely make sure that you are progressively and consistently being challenged to tell your body, oh, we need to make sure that we keep getting just a little bit stronger. Oh yeah, we need to get just a little bit more physically fit. And then we increase the challenge even more. So if you're hearing this and you would like our guidance helping you with this, it's exactly what we can help you do at Muscle Activation Schaumburg using muscle activation techniques. All you have to do to see our availability and get on our schedule is go to www.matschaumburg.com. On our website, you'll find a big green button. You can click. This says Get Started, and you can schedule yourself for your initial MAT consultation and assessment. Well, thanks so much for being everybody. Thank you for giving us your eyes, your ears, wherever you listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or if you're watching on YouTube. If you would like, subscribe, share this with somebody that is feeling like, okay, every time I work out, it's just breaking my body down. There's no way that I can work out without it being too stressful for my body. Share this episode with them so they can hear our perspectives on those ideas and get a roadmap of how they can go from where they're currently at back to where they want to be doing the activities that they want to do. Well, again, thank you so much for tuning in. We always appreciate your time and attention. We're wishing you a fantastic week, and we'll talk with you all next week.
This podcast is for information purposes only. The statements and views on this podcast are not medical advice. This podcast, including Julie and Charlie Gates, disclaim responsibility for any possible adverse effects from the use of information contained herein. Opinions of guests are their own, and this podcast does not endorse or accept responsibility for statements made by guests. This podcast does not make any representations or warranties about guest qualifications or credibility. This podcast may contain paid endorsements or advertisements for products or services. Individuals on this podcast may have a direct or indirect financial interest in products or services referred to herein. If you think you have a medical issue, consult a licensed physician.